One thing I noticed when we were chatting about it beforehand, and then on messengers, we were talking about some of the parallels between St. Louis as a city and Oakland as a city, and the fact that they lost all their teams. They're both cities that when I went to St. Louis, I definitely noticed the demographics, I would say, compared to some of the other cities in the area. But I think both cities hover around 40% black population.
Mhm.
And maybe it's a little bit messy to talk about this, but I wonder how much of the desire for the Rams to move, the Raiders to move from Oakland, the A's, the Warriors who just went across the bay, has to do with some of that perhaps white flight, we
Mhm.
can call it, that's happening in
Yeah,
these cities, and some of the racial demographics. I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
I do think white flight is a issue. Certainly in St. Louis, St. It was the St. Louis suburb of Ferguson that Michael
Correct.
Brown
Yeah.
got shot
Hmm.
shortly before the move. Because I do remember one game right after that shooting took place, that bunch of Rams players entered the field during player introductions with their hands up. Don't shoot me, bro. Uh, and of course, with the NFL, we're talking about a league that is a majority African American league too. So um, I I don't know how much race plays a part in fans actually showing up, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
certainly white flights is an issue, whether it's St. Louis or Oakland, uh, is definitely an issue. It's an issue everywhere that has race issues. So I'm in Kansas City, right? And uh, we have our own racial issues here. True, the city does have a black mayor right now, but for the long, but even still to this day, there is a noticeable divide. It's called Troost Avenue. One side is black and still quite poor compared to the rest of the metro, and uh, and white flight is definitely an issue, especially in this city that the metro spans over two states, over five counties, and is quite spread out. And I would argue that a lot of it was also built on racism, and we just have to learn. Uh, this is true. This is really true everywhere. That we have to do a better job of confronting the systemic issues that help to create the situations that we're in right now. I can make
Hmm.
those situations better, and
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that's
so I
true.
think we can agree that it definitely played a factor, maybe not the
Mhm.
primary factor. It seemed like the rest, it was just 100% greed motivated with some mix of some city politics and other stuff mixed in.
Right.
Uh, so you talked about the Battlehawks filling the football void
Yeah.
in the city. No team has filled the NBA void, but as we wrap up here, do you think there is a future for the NBA or the NFL in St. Louis at some point?
Um, well, NBA, that's a little complicated because I told you the whole story about the Spirit of St. Louis owners taking all that money from the NBA, so that might have settled the pot there. With the NFL, I think it's still going to take a while. It's definitely going to take Roger Goodell no longer being commissioner. It's going to take certain owners, especially Stan Kroenke and Jerry Jones, not being owners anymore. Uh, so I think it's still a long ways off, and it's going to have to be a expansion team. No more teams relocating to St. Louis. It needs to be a homegrown, homeborn team. And God forbid if something were to happen to the UFL, maybe that's a possibility that they bring in the UFL teams in cities that aren't represented by the NFL. So we could see a San Antonio and a Birmingham, perhaps, and agree to keep those names and those colors, and and agree from that point to keep the team in St. Louis, in San Antonio, in Birmingham.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's again with the parallels with Oakland and St. Louis. You know, Oakland lost all their professional teams. They do have a soccer team, the Oakland Roots, that will be playing there, but that's it. So that's a couple dates a year between the women's and the men's team. But at least on the St. Louis side, you have a legacy, one of the best franchises in the MLB, one of the better recent franchises I think in the St. Louis Blues. So at least you've got other things, and of course the Battlehawks that are filling that void. I live up in Sacramento, so we only have the Kings, but we do have
Which
the
you
A's
took
coming.
from us, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
a
that's
story.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a story
Yeah.
for another time. But Sacramento took the Kings from KC, and now you're getting the A's temporarily, and they also left KC. So
Yeah, that's right. The Connie Mack years back in the '60s, and then I don't know if it's going to be temporary. I have a feeling. I just have this gut feeling they're never going to go to Vegas, and they're just going to stay in Sacramento. We got a lot of land out here, a lot of fans. They're not too far from the Bay Area, so I think that would be a little easier for some people to stomach, and maybe the folks that are, anti Jeff Fisher might, or John Fisher, I should say, might switch their tune if he
Freudian
stays in
slip, Jeff
Sacramento.
Fisher. Jeff
Yeah,
Fisher,
that's right.
Jeff Fisher, who was the coach when the Rams were light out of town. Also
Yeah,
the coach when
Mister 7 and 9, right? That's his
7 and
name.
9 bullshit. Yeah. Uh, and he was also the coach of the Oilers when they left Houston for Tennessee. And he is
That's right.
currently the commissioner of the most recent iteration of the Arena League.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow. What a story. What a story for that guy. But listen, Mike, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your flexibility as we work through some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
And your knowledge and passion for St. Louis sports. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Oh, yeah. Next time we'll have to talk about the teams that live Kansas City.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that'll for sure be a separate podcast, and I'd love to be a guest on your show at some point as well.
Absolutely. You know how to get in touch with me, and we'll make it happen.
For sure.
All right. Thanks, man.